All right, in this video we're going to go over modals, and a modal is kind of like a light box. It's like a pop-up that fades in, and you can put pretty much any kind of content that you want inside of it. So we're in 5_6_modals.html, and we're going to go down to where it says start here, and basically we want this button here to trigger a modal. Okay, so you can see we have a button here. Let's add a little bit of styling to it. So we'll give it a BTN and BTN primary class, and then we want to add a couple attributes to this. So one, we want data.toggle, which we've used before, but this time we're going to say the value is going to be modal. And then we want a target, so we need to say data-target. It needs to know which modal to open, so we're going to say number sign, and we'll just call it my modal, but you could call it whatever you'd like. All right, so if we save that, you'll see our button, and then our modal is going to be right here. So this needs some specific markup. So this div here is going to have a class of modal, and then it should also have the ID that we want to target. So in this case, it's going to be my modal because that's what we put above. And then in here, this div is going to have a class of modal dash dialog. And then we have another div with the class of modal content, which will wrap whatever content is in the modal. And we can have a modal header. So we're using an H5, and we can actually add another class to the actual heading called modal title. Okay, and this is just to format what the modal looks like. Now we want a close button, which is this X right here. You can see we're using ampersand times semicolon to get this X icon. But this button needs to have a class of close if we want it to actually close. And then we also need a data dismiss attribute, and we want to set that to modal. Okay, so we'll go down here a little bit. Now the main content is going to be wrapped in a class of modal, let's say modal body. And then down here, the close button, you can see that it's wrapped in a div. Now this is different. The X is going to be like a little X to close, but we're also going to have a button, a regular button in the footer of the modal. So to create a footer, we'll have this div here with the class of modal footer. And then for the button itself, let's just style this. So we'll say class equals, and let's give it a class of BTN secondary. Okay, and we also want this to close the modal, so we're going to say data dismiss and set that equal to modal. And that should be it. So let's save, and notice that everything has disappeared, and if I click this, now the modal is going to pop in. Okay, you can see we have the title, it's nicely formatted, and padding is nice, font, we have the close button, we also have another button here which will also close the modal. Now what I want to do is create another one, but have it, I want to have it have a form inside. So you might see this where you click a login, and then a modal comes up with a login form or a registration form or something like that. So I'm going to copy what we just did, the trigger and the actual modal, because I don't want to repeat a ton of stuff. Actually, let's copy the button here first. We'll put that here, and then we'll grab this, and we'll put that here. Okay, so I'm just going to change the text here to login. Well, yeah, we'll just say login. And we need to change the target to, let's say, login modal. And we'll change the color as well. Let's say dark. So if I save that, we now have this login button. So down here, we're just going to change the ID to login modal. And then this stuff is going to stay the same. We'll change the title to login, and we want to keep the close button. Pretty much what we want to change is the content in the body and the footer. So I'm going to get rid of this text, and what I'll do is put in a form. We don't need an action. It's not going to be an actual form we can submit. So let's say div with the class of form group. And inside here, let's do a label for a username. And then we'll do an input with the type, the class of form control with the type of text. And we'll put a placeholder in here. And we'll say username. Okay, and then what I'll do is just copy the form group. We'll go under it, and this will be a password. So we'll change this. Let's change the type. And we'll change the placeholder. All right, now the button, the submit button, I actually want to have down here in the footer. So we'll keep the close button, but in addition to that, I'm going to copy it, and we'll say login, and let's change this to primary, and we'll just have it closed. We'll keep the data dismissed because it's not actually a login form. I just want to give you the UI. It's not going to actually do anything. So let's save that and see what it looks like. And there we go. So we have a pretty nice looking login form with a username and password. And we have a close button, login. I guess you don't really need the close button. Yeah, we'll just get rid of that because we have the X. So, and the login is going to close it anyways. And if we click outside of the modal, it'll also close, just to let you know that. All right, so that's pretty much it. They're pretty simple, and they look really nice, and they're useful. So that's it. In the next video, we're going to take a look at the Scroll Spy widget.